We're back on a new track, bringing it to you hot and live, spinning some smooth beats this week. It's been a little while since we've recorded.
It's been a little while. I've almost forgotten who you are.
I have some follow-up of a corrective nature from a show
from times past.
I did. This is like 6 or 7 episodes ago at this point. So people hearing this, it'll be a little late.
Did we get a note from one of our listeners?
No, we didn't. I just realized a mistake that I made in listening back to one of the episodes.
Gotcha.
In the Yapstone episode, I refer quite a few times. I use the word fiat currency, trying to refer to currency that is not backed by like an actual resource, but is backed by trust. And fiat currency, that's slightly correct. Fiat currency specifically is money backed by a government.
Gotcha.
So something like Bitcoin is not fiat. It is trust based, but it's not government backed. Whereas a fiat currency gets its value not from being backed by a resource, but being backed specifically by a government.
Right.
So, not important, but I misused the term fiat several times, and then it bothered me.
Well, thank you for that update.
Yeah, that's
on how things are going. Well, that was great. Who are you? I was wondering.
I'm Thomas.
And I'm Ben.
This is the Obscurigami podcast, a podcast that covers a variety of topics, boring and interesting, entertaining and
not entertaining, deadly and lively, but hopefully the common. What do all those things have in common on this podcast? They are all obscure.
They are hopefully all obscure. That's the goal.
Hopefully.
Anyway. So,
our topic today is Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan.
It's not actually. I was just making a joke because Bob Dylan's not that obscure.
Yeah.
I think Bob Dylan falls into the category of
not obscure.
Yeah.
However,
he's such a big category unto himself.
You could probably come up with some obscure things about Bob
You could
Dylan.
find he's become a category of topic.
Right. Yeah.
Like within the not obscure topic of Bob Dylan, there are obscure gems to be unearthed.
Yeah. That's kind of been my approach to some things. Like my next the topic I'm doing next is kind of like that, or like my Benjamin Harrison topic, where it's like he's a U.S. president, so he's not that obscure. But of the U.S. presidents, he's pretty obscure.
He's the most obscure.
So,
as we learned.
It's all relative, so they say in postmodernism. So what do you have for us today, Ben, that's not Bob Dylan?
Well, today we have something that is not Bob Dylan. So you may have heard of alien abduction.
The general concept
just the general
abducting
concept
people?
And the idea. I assumed that alien abduction was kind of like a universal throughout time. Like for as long as there have been people who have claimed that they were abducted by aliens.
I've never heard of this.
Alien abduction?
Yes.
Should I explain it to you?
Well, okay. I've heard of it, but for our listeners out there who may not have heard of alien abduction.
Well, the general idea is that there are extraterrestrial beings out there in the universe.
Yeah.
And they come and, for lack of a better term, find you, and for lack of a better definition of abduction, take you into outer space or into their spacecraft. Usually there's some sort of like medical jiggery-pokery that goes on, where they prod you and take some skin samples or whatnot. But actually these are not a universal throughout time phenomenon. They actually started popping up in the 1960s. Before that, they were actually extremely rare, and increasingly rare the earlier back you go.
By this you mean actual alien abductions or
Reports of alien abductions.
Okay, I see.
But since that time, they've become very common, to the point that in 1987, a then young insurance salesman named Mike St. Lawrence was reading a book about alien abduction called Communion by Whitley Strieber, which is sort of a it's not really it's presented as nonfiction, but it's speculative fiction. And whilst reading this popular book, this young enterprising insurance salesman decided to check his own insurance policy to see if he was covered
for alien, well, as you do naturally.
Right. Well, he doesn't want to be abducted by aliens.
Insurance,
So,
did you say life insurance or just like health?
He checked his homeowner's insurance.
Oh, his homeowner's insurance.
Right.
Okay.
Which I assume was kind of the business that he was in.
Right.
That general subcategory of homeowner's insurance. There's not very much data on what he did before. I suppose the best tactic would probably be to call him and ask him.
I just got renter's insurance. I don't really remember seeing anything about alien abduction.
Right. Well, unfortunately, most major insurance companies don't offer that. But Mr. St. Lawrence, from Altamont Springs, Florida, decided he would offer a service to the good people of the world to protect them from this very real threat of alien abduction. So in 1987, he claims he got some funding from a group of Japanese investors who have never been identified, and there's no data, to launch a company called the UFO Abduction Insurance Company. He offers a $10 million policy that covers anyone who can prove that they were abducted by aliens from outer space. Now, obviously, the proof...
Right. What are the acceptable
is
means
the challenge.
for acceptable forms of proof?
There's not much in the way of claims in this insurance policy. The most recent interview I could find with him, he said he's only ever had 2, only one of which he actually awarded damages to. But the claim form lists some things like descriptions of the aliens, their species name, what the interior of the UFO looked like, what planet they're from, what region of space the planet is located in, as well as a signature from the alien himself, him or herself, or itself. Whatever you have. That are required. And I would imagine that would trip you up because, I mean, if you didn't have the claim form with you when you were abducted, you just have to have the claim form with you at all times, I guess.
I'm guessing among UFOs, among extraterrestrials, handing out a doctor's note is probably not like a default.
And what if their species doesn't have a concept of a signature?
Right. Yeah, it could be like an arrival type thing, where they communicate through some sort of like thought type of a deal, and then
how would they? So it's a bit difficult to obtain claims on this $10 million policy.
I would imagine.
But it is a $10 million policy, and to get it, you only have to pay a single lifetime premium of $19.95. So it's really not a huge expenditure. And the amount of coverage that you get is pretty incredible. However, one of his 2 claims that he actually awarded damages to, he pays out damages at the rate of $1 per year for 10 million years or until your death, whichever comes first. So
that seems like a flaw in the...
Unfortunately...
Well, depending on whose side you're looking at, it's not...
Right. The coverage is supposed to include medical and psychiatric coverage, sarcasm coverage, which is indemnifying against heckling from loved ones in particular. Double indemnity coverage if the aliens insist on conjugal visits, produce an offspring in your body of some sort, or refer to the abductee as a food source or the other white meat. Quoting from the certificate here.
Go back to he's paying out at a rate of $1 a year. How is that working? Is that why?
Well,
I mean, besides like it being like a scam,
it's not really clear, why he pays out at that rate. He's quoted in various places and at various times as saying that it's as legal as he can make it without being behind bars, or I guess as illegal as he can make it without it being behind bars.
Yeah.
So I think it's somewhat more satirical in nature. I think there's a distinct possibility that it could be satirical in nature. But, it's somewhat hard to tell from the website, which says things like a test that you have to take before you can get the certificate, a 3-question test. One of the questions is, do you have a sense of humor? The other 2 are, do you take this coverage seriously, and were your parents related before they were married?
I wonder if the do you take this coverage seriously question qualifies you or disqualifies you.
We can only speculate.
Maybe it depends on its relation to the other. Maybe if you have a sense of humor and you take it seriously, it qualifies you. But if you don't have a sense of humor and you don't take it seriously, then
well, I mean, one can only speculate.
So he's paying out. Did he meet any sort of success with I mean, obviously
he
only
claims
had a
he
few
sold
claims.
over 5,000 policies. He won't give out the exact number.
Right.
Maybe because it's not higher than that.
Yeah.
We can only speculate about that, much as we can only speculate about extraterrestrial life. More interestingly, the person who claimed successfully that they were abducted by aliens gave proof of a letter from a doctor certifying that something had been implanted into his body.
Right.
And there's no scientific documentation of what this implant was, but clearly it was enough to satisfy the stringent.
Yeah, that was the kind of stuff that I was imagining as proof. Like, there's like you disappeared for an amount of time, and then there's signs of, skin grafting, or not grafting, but like,
evidence
of testing of some kind, or that sort of a thing.
Right. But he requires much more thorough proof.
Yeah.
So I'm impressed that he's even had one person to successfully claim that they were abducted.
There's a lot of world building though. I mean, if you were going to try to fake one of these claims,
it would take a lot of work.
Yeah, you'd have to do your research and come up with believable alien names and signatures, and you really have to build kind of like a whole race, a whole society.
Yeah, and fortunately for him, there's very little fiction in the realm of extraterrestrials.
Right. So you would have very few resources to draw from for inspiration.
As far as
you'd be doing a lot of that groundwork
yourself. You'd have to cover a lot of that ground yourself. But he was very successful with this business, and there were various others that have sprung up who provide most people, according to him, purchase the certificate as a gift for someone, and then they place themselves as the beneficiary, so that in the event of an alien abduction, they are the ones that receive the money. A few people name themselves as the beneficiary of the policy. But
I guess does this, because I'm assuming there's probably two kinds of alien abduction. I mean, the ones we hear about a lot are people who are abducted.
Well, the people who get
returned. But what about all the people who aren't returned?
This policy doesn't really cover you
Right.
if you don't get returned.
Because then you don't have proof.
Right. But at that stage in the game, you would probably need life insurance.
Right.
to
Yeah.
provide for your family in the event that you're abducted.
Does life insurance cover disappearance?
I mean, I'm sure at some stage it has to.
Yeah.
I'm sure it just depends on the coverage.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the coverage. I mean,
The
because
nature of the
obviously, apparently, if
disappearance.
you're like missing in action or something, then you have a government verified,
Yeah.
like, oh, this person's legitimately missing. But if somebody just disappears, I guess you'd have to put in a claim.
Yeah.
Claiming that
You'd need a
they
certificate of
died
death
in
or
the
something.
Amazon
Yeah.
or something, and then like
Or some evidence of some
Yeah.
sort that they're not still alive out there somewhere. But one company that took it a little bit more seriously in the wake of his success, one of the groups that followed him was called Goodfellow, Rebecca, Ingrams, and Pearson, Ltd., which is an acronym. As an acronym would be GRIP. So hereinafter referred to as GRIP. They're based out of London, and they the managing partner is named Simon Burgess, who actually has launched several other insurance companies, one of which is still in operations today, called British Insurance, that specializes in homeowners insurance and auto insurance and other forms of more traditional insurance. But at the time, meaning about 1996, they paid their first claim of about $1.6 million to an electrician from Enfield kidnapped by triangle-headed spaceship pilots. This is from the San Francisco Gate.
So did they also carry a specific extraterrestrial policy?
They did. That was the claim
And
that
that
they
was the
paid
claim,
out of.
Yeah.
A triangle-shaped transparent claw was supposedly left behind on Christmas Eve, which was when the abduction took place. Joseph Carpenter was his name. Unfortunately, years later it was revealed that it was merely a publicity stunt.
Oh, that's a shame.
It is a terrible shame. These policies that GRIP offer $1.5 million in coverage, which is not nearly as much.
No.
But apparently it's easier to
right
obtain.
Yeah, maybe he's paying out a little better rate too than a dollar per month.
Right. Hopefully.
Yeah.
For the sake of everyone being scammed by these insurance companies.
Well, I mean, when you're shopping around for your alien abduction insurance, you got to weigh the pros and cons. I mean, because
absolutely,
is it a $20 million policy? Sure. Are you only getting $1 per year?
Yeah. Well, one of those pros and cons is the annual premium for this policy. It's not a one-time premium. It's an annual premium.
It's an annual premium, yeah.
Of about $155.
That is a little more hefty.
That's much more hefty.
Yeah.
And if a decade or so goes by and you haven't been abducted, are you going to keep the coverage?
That's true.
Or it becomes difficult at that point. But the twist in this story, and the final twist that I'll leave you with, for those of you who are not familiar, there was a cult that became famous in the late 90s for a mass suicide that they perpetrated. It was called Heaven's Gate. They killed themselves in late March. There was about 39 members of the organization that drank alcohol and barbiturates and put bags over their heads and left planet Earth. This was in the wake of a passing comet that they believed was hiding a spaceship, and that by leaving the shell of their bodies, they would be beamed up to the spaceship as it was passing the Earth, and they would be headed for their destiny. Marshall Applewhite was the name of the cult leader. And this cult actually purchased alien abduction insurance
Oh, wow.
from none other than Goodfellow, Rebecca Ingrams and Pearson. And this case, for those of you who don't remember it or aren't familiar with it, was very, very high profile. It was actually featured on the cover of Time magazine, and a media circus was surrounding it because it was then and is still, to the best of my knowledge, the largest mass suicide in the United States ever. So it was quite a significant case, attracted a lot of public attention to the cult and to its teaching. However, since there was no return, and technically there's no proof that they were taken,
Right.
the firm did not pay out any damages to any of the beneficiaries. However, the firm did stop selling its policies for a little while in the wake of the incident. However, Burgess explained that greed got the better of us and we later resumed. That company is now no longer in business and no longer offering their services, in contrast to Mike St. Lawrence's UFO abduction insurance company that is still available, still out there. A link will be in the show notes where you can go and purchase your very own. This episode is sponsored by the UFO abduction insurance company.
Use promo code no not me. Please take my wife, all lowercase, to get 20% off.
Act today. You cannot be turned down regardless of your age or frequent flyer status.
Well, that's good. I wonder if you can get if you can get any of this on the Affordable Care Act marketplace.
I'm not sure.
For those who are underprivileged or financially.
I mean, given that the premium is only a one-time premium,
Right.
and it's so low.
Yeah.
But I'm sure for the financially challenged, there's some sort of a
some sort of a break,
grant that you could apply for.
Oh man, I wonder. Obviously, I doubt any have ever been paid out on or it's that common. But I wonder if I'm sure there's been occurrences of people claiming aliens were involved in various insurance claims, not specifically necessarily alien abduction insurance, but I'm sure there's people who have maybe crashed their car and then tried to make a claim based on alien extraterrestrial interference.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some interesting stories out there.
I was not able to come across any of those, unfortunately.
Alien abduction insurance. Ben, if you were going to start a scammy insurance company, what kind of insurance do you think you'd sell?
I mean, this kind of insurance is very appealing to me.
Yeah.
Especially in the light of the discovery of new planets.
Oh, yes, just recently, yeah.
So, the odds of us discovering aliens grow every day.
Yeah.
And as they grow, so too does
the
people's
odds of them
interest
discovering
in
us.
Right.
And the likelihood of an actual alien abduction.
And in the event of more alien abductions, the more alien abductions there are, the better it is for the reputation of the business,
right. Yeah.
It would become less quackery.
It seems like there's
more of a serious.
There's a bit of a blemish on kind of the industry of your alien abduction.
There is.
If a lot of your customers are cult members, there's some stigma I think you have to work past.
Yeah.
And hopefully, as time goes on, that's going away.
I hope so, Thomas. I hope so.
Well, good. I know I'll be getting my $19.99 or my dollar for my policy for only $19.99. I mean, at a payout at $1 a year, if I ever am abducted, I'm sure that will be all the consolation.
If you invest that money in the stock market and you live for 1,000,000 years, you can make a lot of money. You could be richer than Donald Trump.
It's such an absurd concept, not merely because it's absurd on several levels. Like, alien, obviously, you know, alien abductions aren't happening, so it's kind of...
Is that obvious, Tom?
Well, I mean, arguably. but remove even the controversy of whether or not alien abductions are something you should legitimately be worried about. The idea that you need some kind of monetary, compensation for
your experience.
For your experience outside of, you know, what would just be covered by normal health or life insurance is kind of a funny idea. You know, really, I think what's probably important here would be some kind of government mandated thing, kind of like maternity leave, maternity pay, or jury duty pay, mandated jury duty pay, where, like, if you are alien abducted,
kind of like a close encounter leave.
Right. It seems like, you know, one of the most significant things is if you're missing for, say, weeks, a month, several months, or whatever, however long it might be, you know, any significant period of time, you might be in danger of losing your job.
Right.
You know, missing responsibilities in that time, and you're going to need some compensation for time away. And I think that's something that, you know, if you're abducted, you shouldn't have to bear those costs. They should go to your employer or, you know, probably the government. So.
Well, definitely the government, because they're the ones that are responsible for allowing, you know, extraterrestrials.
They should be defending us in the first place. So
they should be building walls in space,
and ceilings, and
ceilings.
We
definitely
should have anti-aircraft missiles on the moon and whatnot. Yeah, I'm really I'm glad you brought this up as a topic, because it's really brought to mind a lot of issues that previously I hadn't really thought about.
Yeah,
and,
I think it definitely is a nice turn for us to more serious subject matter.
Yeah. After
a few episodes that were a bit too light.
Well, and we don't usually get political on here, but I think this is really something we can, like, lay out as, like, this. Here's an issue we care about.
This is definitely something that we can put before Congress, and that people on both sides of the aisle can reach agreement.
I mean, this is definitely a nonpartisan issue. I think, you know, obviously it's something that Trump will never get behind, but
right.
You know, we can.
Well, Trump, if you take a look at the homepage, Trump actually has a policy.
Oh, really?
Presumably,
maybe he would get behind.
Purchased for him by someone else. The beneficiary of it is the Republican National Committee. So, in the event that Trump is abducted, have no fear, he's covered.
He is covered. Well, that's a relief for the American people.
It is. It definitely is.
Wonderful.
There you have it.
Who knew? Well, folks, it's that time of year again. Snows are falling.
Snows?
Yeah. The snow is falling. Curtains are being drawn.
What time of year is this?
Turn up the oven and open the oven door. Trying to stay warm. It's the coldest time of year.
The random Wikipedia
article time of year.
This is the part of the show where we go on our favorite website, our most scholarly source, Wikipedia, and we click the random button and see what comes out, and then we mispronounce everything.
Everything.
Even English words that are easy to pronounce. We spend the rest of the show mispronouncing everything.
Well, I don't have the internet, so do you want to do the...
I will do the honors then.
Honors. The dishonors.
Okay. I'm going to push the button.
All right, here we go. Pushing. It's loading.
Ooh. Easy to pronounce.
Yes.
Pedra do Indaiá is a Brazilian municipality located in the center of the state of Minas... I don't know. Minas
Gerais?
Minas Gerais?
Population as of 2007 was 3,921 people. This is very similar to one of our earlier random Wikipedia articles, which was just like a county or a small town in somewhere in India. I don't really remember. The origin of the name lies in the legend of an image of Jesus left near a stone, Pedra. That's where the Pedra comes for, and later discovered. A chapel was built in stone, and soon people began to build their houses nearby. The settlement grew and was first called Senhor Bom Jesus da Pedra do Indaiá. In 1923, it became Pedra do Indaiá. In Pedra do Indaiá. In 1962, it was separated from another place and became a municipality.
We have a photo here.
Oh, very nice. Is that the church?
I would presume that to be the church. Oh, I think actually not. I think that's a hostel.
Yeah.
There is a hostel there, if you'd like to visit.
The GDP in 2005 was approximately 29 million.
Wow. What was the population again?
That's
4,000
rather
people?
high.
Is that for the whole country of Brazil, or just for that particular...
No, I'm still on the page for that particular area.
Interesting.
There are no banks. The motor vehicle fleet had 482 automobiles, 51 trucks, 45 pickups, and 223 motorcycles.
That's a really interesting statistic. I'm surprised that something that interesting made its way onto Wikipedia. Is 2007 a year of Brazilian census then?
Apparently there's several quarries, and it says 13 transformation industries. Now, I'm not familiar with what a transformation industry is, but man, there's some the GDP that 29 million is not US dollars. Therein lies the rub.
They are reais. Literacy rate is pretty respectable at 83%. 74 is the average life expectancy.
Per capita monthly income is 183. So they are putting out quite a bit, and that must be from the quarries and industry that are there.
Rice, bean, corn, cattle. I googled it and I got industry transformation.
I think they might mean transportation.
Seems likely.
But
seeing as how they're very specific about the motor vehicle fleet.
It's hard to tell. It is national ranking 1,729 out of 5,138 municipalities as of 2000. Do not, however, know what that rank means.
Signifies.
It is in the health and education section, so I'm guessing it has something to do with either health or education.
We hope.
Yeah. Seems like this Wikipedia article might be a little slapped together, despite its wonderful offering of highly specific statistics about
vehicles.
Numbers of automobiles in 2007.
Well, that was very educational.
I think, yeah.
I feel more equipped to take a trip to Brazil now.
Yeah. And you know how many automobiles you're gonna have to look out for if you ever go to Pedra do Indaiá.
Portuguese.
Well, folks,
it's happened again. You've wasted another perfectly good half hour listening to our podcast.
What a joy! What a time! What a ride!
To find more episodes, to bless your ears, you can subscribe in iTunes or the podcatcher of your choice.
Yep. Head to obscurigami.com for links to more things and other episodes.
You can read our show notes on there.
Yeah, show notes. And
look at some beautiful artwork.
Email us, obscurigami@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts. Have you ever been abducted by an extraterrestrial?
If you have, we definitely want to know about it. Without question.
Have you ever purchased insurance that you've never used? Email us.
Just please send us an email.
Yeah.
Let us know you're out there. Sometimes it feels like we're just making
There's-
this podcast for our own
There's
self-satisfaction.
tens of listeners, Ben.
Tens?
Tens.
Whole tens?
Tens of listeners.
Wow.
I'm assuming.
I'm imagining like $10 bills sitting around
Right.
a radio.
Well, don't imagine too many.